Hello, my dears. So this is Maria Roslyn from Phoenix YouTube channel. So we have been discussing about our test design techniques. So this is the image, the flow diagram that I would like to reiterate upon. So we were discussing about the static technique, and we completed till inspection, which is our more formal um, review process. So we completed till that. So we will move on to our static analysis. So static analysis has two types. So which is your control flow and your data flow. So static analysis is performed on your requirement design or code without actually executing. So the static actually means without executing. So this can be done over the document or even on the code. Mostly it is done with the code. So here a question could arise like, okay, it is done on the code, so what is the tester has to do with it? Yes, the tester should know how the control is flowing or how the data is flowing through the application. So basically, what is a control flow? What is a data flow? So a control flow is more like the movement of tabs. So to be no to put it in a simple word, so you have a form, you have the tab. So you start off from the first field, you fill in up say name, age, your gender, your qualification, it moves on. So you keep it on the first field, then you give a tab, the control moves to the next flow, you give a tab, the control moves to the next field. So this is your control flow. So as a tester you should know how the control is flowing, and or I should say, as a tester, you should make sure the control is flowing correctly. The next one is your data flow. So here it is the processing of data. Say, imagine your bank website. So you have your account balance getting displayed in your home page. So where and all this account balance is getting displayed. So whenever you make a payment, it shows up there. Yeah, so much is your balance, or you're trying to make so much payment. So or else you're doing some other transaction, say transferring the money to another account. So it shows up. Yeah, this is the amount and you're trying to transfer. So this is the data that is flowing through, or even a mathematical calculation, your addition or your subtraction of your amount no, when it is credited or debited. So this is your data flow. So the tester is also making a point that he or she tests this data flow also. So the goal of this static analysis is to find the defects, whether it may cause the failure, because if the data or your control is not flowing properly, it could defect result in a failure. So that is your static analysis. So with this we are concluding our static test design technique. We are moving on to a more interesting dynamic testing technique. So based on your, I said, black box technique, we have these four divisions. So what is a black box testing? So we are going to discuss about the types of testing later in this series, but as of now you can just remember this. A black box testing is something to do more functionally, meaning to say, as a tester, as a black box tester, you're not worried about what technology has been used to develop this application, or what is the code structure, what is the looping that has been used. You're not worried about anything. To put it in simple words, just now have your Google. So in Google you're trying to search for a term. Say you're putting it as flowers and you're giving a search. So when you give flowers, you hit on search, the flowers related news, the flowers related information and images should be loaded. We are not expecting anything apart from flowers. So as a black box tester, your only worry is to check whether the flowers images are coming up and the flowers news are coming up, right? So this is your black box testing, where you're not digging deep into the code and you're just worried about the functionality. So based on that, we have this four divisions: your equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, decision tables, and state transition testing. Even now, no, without knowing these two specifically, your equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis, no, you cannot clear any testing interview. So any interview for a tester would have this question. So I would recommend, no, you to understand about these two in detail. So what is the equivalence partitioning? So this idea is to divide or partition the test conditions into groups or sets that can be considered. Okay, hence this is called as a equivalence partitioning or equivalence classes. So let me give you an example to explain this. Okay, so imagine you are going to segregate a whole lot of people based on the ages. Okay, so imagine you have some 1,000 people. Okay, a database of 1,000 people of varied age group. Okay, you're going to sort out them as, say, the first group is going to have till 20, the second group is going to have till 40, 60 and 80. Okay, so you're basically going to put all of them, and 80 plus maybe the fifth group. So you're going to put everybody in this four group and you start sorting. So the first group is one equivalence class, the second group is one equivalence class, the third, fourth and fifth. So every class, so 0 to 20, or the newborn, from the newborn till 20 will be your first group, 21 to 40 will be your second, and so on. So this is your equivalence partitioning. So what does this have in respect to the testing? Even in testing, few projects which handles a huge data requires this equivalence partitioning. Okay, I will tell you in detail about what is the advantage of this also, because when you have this whole lot of data, say there are 10,000 records and you need to validate all those 10,000 records, definitely you're not going to get time to complete all those 10,000 records. So what you're going to do, you're going to group them. Okay, based on each criteria category, you're going to group them, and you're going to pick few of the data from each group to make sure that that particular class is a valid class, or your test condition is passing with the picking of those few data. So we will discuss in detail going forward, because I'm going to show you how you're going to design test cases based on these techniques. So as of now, you can just remember, grouping up of a bigger group of data into small groups, valid groups, will be your equivalence partitioning. So what is boundary value analysis? So from your equivalence partitioning, the next step is going to be your boundary value analysis. Let me tell you this. So boundary value analysis, say imagine a supermarket. Fine. So in that supermarket, there is an announcement that has been made saying that if your purchase is till 1,000 rupees or up to 1,000 rupees, you get a discount of 5%. More than 1,000 to 5,000, you have a discount of 10%. 5,000 to 10,000, you have a discount of 15%. So we will stop with that. So we have now three equivalence partitioning, right? So first is up to 1,000, second is from 1,000 to 5,000, third is from, or I should say 1,001 to 5,000, and third is going to be your 5,001 to 10,000. So you have made the grouping. So three equivalence partitioning classes you have made. After that, you're going to check whether this particular system is actually giving the correct discount for the correct purchase. So what you're going to do, you're going to pick up the value from each partition class. So you're going to choose a value around the boundary. Okay, what is the boundary? For the first equivalence partitioning class, your boundary is from 1 rupee, right? Let's say that the minimum value is from 1 rupee. So from 1 rupee to 1,000 rupees. So 1 is your lower boundary and 1,000 is your upper boundary, or the maximum boundary for your first equivalence partitioning. So 1 is considered as one value, rupees 1, and 1,000 rupees is considered as the maximum value. So that is your second boundary. So after that, you can choose 1,001. So the 1,001 is also your boundary value, but that 1,001 will be your negative case for your first group and positive case for your second group. Meaning to say, if the customer has purchased for 1,001 rupees, then he or she is eligible for a 10% discount, correct? So when the amount is 10,001, immediately the system should process a discount of 10%. So the discount is moving from 5% to 10%. So that is why I said that is the negative case for your first class and your positive case for the second class. So choosing the values around the boundary of the equivalence partitioning class is your boundary value analysis. So equivalence partitioning and boundary value goes hand in hand. So once you do an equivalence partitioning, then you can move on to the boundary value analysis. Then use your decision table. So this decision table is more like, fulfilling the criteria. Okay, so whether the condition is true or false for a particular condition, and if it is true, there is one particular thing that is going to take place. If it is false, the other flow is going to continue. So the decision table is a good way to deal with combination of things, combination of inputs. So this is sometimes also referred as cause effect. Yes, so if it is true, that is what I said, there will be one flow. If it is false, there is another flow. Decision tables provide a systematic way of stating complex business rule, which is useful for the developers and the testers. For example, same discount. Okay, now we can say, like, or an admission in particular institution. So the person should have completed the plus 2 with so much of grade, he should have so much of sports participation, or he or she should have known these languages, maybe, just I'm giving you an imaginary situation. So if at all there are 3 4 conditions for one particular result, then one every student will go through all these 4 conditions. So if it is true for all 4, then the person is eligible. At least they say, no, out of these 4, minimum 3 is required to get an admission. Then it goes on. So based on the input that you're giving, the result is going to change. So here is one such example I've given. Say this is something to do with the bank. Okay. So if the bank, there is a new customer, he's getting a 15% of discount. If he has a loyalty card, he has a 10%. Then if he has a coupon, then he has a 20%, an imaginary scenario. So you can just see the rules. Okay, the rules are implied, or you can say it is each customer, and we have put in the true or false for each rule and for each customer. So for the first customer, for the all the 3 conditions, he has a true, and the discount is going to be 45%. For the second customer, 2 conditions are true, one is false, so he is getting a 25% discount. So this can be considered to be the customers, and these are the conditions, and we have the decision table. So every condition will be a test case. So every combination of condition will be your test case, and you can decide upon that. Okay, so in this video we have discussed about our dynamic testing technique, basically your black box testing. We have discussed on 3 things: your equivalence partitioning, your boundary value analysis, and your decision table. We have the use case testing moving forward, so we will discuss that in your next video. uh, Thank you for listening to this video so patiently. Keep supporting the Phoenix YouTube channel. Be a phoenix, fly high so that no one even imagines to touch you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.